Review meetings, love them or loathe them, a huge amount rides in them, so how do you get them right? Meet Denise Inwood, a former deputy head and now a performance management trainer. On a daily basis, she travels up and down the country. She's convinced of the benefits of good performance management.
I do this job because I believe passionately in the right of the individual to grow, whether that's a 5-year-old in the classroom or whether it's a 55-year-old in a leadership position. Everybody has the ability, the capability, the right and the responsibility to maximise their potential.
Today, Denise is visiting Ash Manor School in Surrey. She'll be working with head teacher Bob Linnell, who's a firm believer in the importance of effective performance management.
Most people think the performance management process gives them the opportunity to have a quality conversation with another member of staff, where people can talk about their hopes, fears, dreams and aspirations professionally and you know, for the future.
Janice Treasure, a deputy head at the school, is in charge of the performance management training.
To see people achieve is a wonderful feeling, and that is why I came into the profession, to make a difference, and I do think performance management can make a difference with teachers.
Although Janice and Bob are experienced reviewers, they embrace the chance to work with Denise to explore the process in more depth. She kicks off the day by getting them to watch a role play of a review meeting. She wants them to analyse and criticise and think about what not to do when they carry out their own reviews in the future.
I've got this review session in a moment. Yeah, I know. But I haven't any training for it, you know. Yeah, well, I know we did the inset, but I wasn't here, was I? And I didn't bother to see the CPD coordinator to catch up.
He's not prepared, is he?
No.
Well, I did NQT mentoring last year, so it's about the same, isn't it? You know, I'm sure I can wing it.
He's definitely beginning to panic. He may be smiling, but inside I think he's got a problem.
But the other issue is I can't find the stuff, you know. I mean, I know all the review documents that she sent.
I don't know what I'm doing, and now I can't find the paperwork anyway. That's always a good start, isn't it?
Anyway, look, mate, I'll let you know how it goes. And thanks a lot. Cheers, Bill. Bye.
May I come in? May I come in?
Yes.
He's preoccupied, isn't he? Just not...
His whole body language is, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this.
May I sit down?
That's reinforced by no communication with the reviewers.
What do you want me to do these?
Oh, please, let me have... Oh, there it is. There it is. But before we start, I must say that I had a parent ring up and we're going to have to sort of finish 15 minutes before time.
Now he's just told her that it's not quality time.
Yeah.
Should we go through the objectives that I was set last year? I've given you a copy of this sheet. There's the objectives that were set last year and the evidence I need.
Oh, yes, thank you. Right, can we just spend a few moments just reading through this again?
Evidence preparation is not there,
There's
is
no preparation at all for this.
I'd be quite frustrated if that was my reviewer.
Shall we begin with the first objective?
Sorry?
Shall we begin with the first objective?
Yes, yes, let's look at the objectives, of course.
Can I ask then for your feedback?
If I'd been the reviewee in that situation, I would have felt really uncomfortable and really that I shouldn't have been there because it just wasn't ready for me.
Bob and Janice were quick to pick up on the state of the reviewer's room, so Denise has devised an exercise that looks at getting the setting just right.
And what I'd just like you to do is to just take a few minutes to identify, if you can, the things in here that are going to make this environment a less than conducive place for a planning and review meeting to take place. So if you could perhaps mark that on the screen for me, that would be terrific.
I'm going to go down here with the table and also on the chair here. There's a lot of documentation around.
For me, it's the height differential between the two.
Yeah.
This is a power game. This is somebody who's sitting lower than the person who's in some kind of authority.
It's also about all the mugs that are on the table as well. One is the one that back there, I think there was, wasn't there?
And there's one with the banana
There's
skin.
one
in
there.
it.
We've got the banana skin
And the
here.
banana skin. I mean, what does that say about him? You know, it's a bit... Well, it's very shoddy, isn't it?
All these things
yes.
here
Absolutely.
are just creating enormous barriers.
These actually were moved to create an even higher barrier. It was almost like a defensive position being built.
Actually, in summary, this is a perfect example of how not to set up an environment for a professional review. Let's move on then and have a look at another role play.
In the folder you've got there, I've put in the evidence that I've been collecting throughout the year.
Oh.
There is other evidence, but that's one example.
Okay.
It's a lesson observation. I used a questioning technique to check what work students had understood from the previous lesson.
I think we can say that you've met that objective. That's okay, that's great.
This is quite dismissive. He's not looking at the evidence at all.
There is, however, further evidence in the file.
Oh, no, this will be fine, this will be fine. And yes, we are at a bit of a rush, so, but this will be fine.
See, he's just dismissed all the other evidence she's put together.
And again, it reiterates the fact that he's no time for it, isn't it?
I'm having a few problems with some members of my team not quite pulling their weight, and so I feel I'm doing some work that is not my direct responsibility.
I'm sure you're doing fine. I mean, after all, it is a very difficult job. We all have challenges, you know, and I think you're doing fine. You are certainly capable and you're certainly meeting your objectives.
Part of the review is to look at development areas and concerns that reviewee has got.
And he's just stopped listening to her.
Yes, because he's now on to the meeting with the parent, isn't he?
Now for her, this is the really important part of this meeting.
You know, I think we do need to move on. So if I would write something and let you see that later, is that okay with you? And to say you're doing a superb job and just carry on the way you're doing.
The reviewee seems to be having to run the review and do all the work. And the reviewer has not made that person feel that comfortable with their own expertise in the process.
Next, Denise wants Bob and Janice to work through an exercise that looks at the groundwork needed before a review.
What we're going to do now is we're going to engage in a really simple activity which could form an effective backdrop to raising a discussion, opening up channels of communication with staff about some of the key issues related to the new performance management process. So if we begin by looking at these individual statements, what we'll do is think about how they relate to three major stages.
So we've got the physical environment,
Yeah.
preparation and running the review.
Yeah.
Okay. All evidence has been gathered.
That's clearly going to be preparation, isn't it? I mean, that's dead simple, easy one to start with.
Space used for the meeting is confidential, calm and uncluttered. So we'll put that in the physical environment for the moment. A clear understanding of school and team objectives.
Well, it's nothing to do with physical environment, is it?
Can we park it under preparation for a moment? Right, evidence matches performance criteria and is objective. Is that part of the process
I think
itself?
it's part of the process, that, isn't it? It doesn't, but it's enables, it links into the preparation, but it straddles both of those, doesn't it?
Looking at the amount of preparation that's required, I mean, it makes absolute sense that this is seen and managed as an ongoing process across the whole year and part of a continuous professional dialogue, and that all of this can't be just gathered at the last minute prior to the planning and review, the review and planning meeting.
Yeah. There is a temptation to, because very busy people, to go into meetings not properly prepared, and I think that really shows the importance of that preparation.
It's time for the next instalment in how not to do it.
We're now going to move on and watch the final part of that review.
What do you think would be your objectives for next year?
I've drawn up some objectives that I felt would be suitable in order to improve my performance next year. So perhaps you'd like to have a look at those.
Excellent, excellent. These are superb, and I think we can run with these. Well done, that's great. We can run with these, they're fantastic.
How
And
patronising is that?
I have picked up quite a lot of work that's not my direct responsibility, and that may have an impact on me meeting these objectives next year.
Look, we're all doing a very difficult job, and as you can imagine, the pressures on each one of us. Oh, excuse me. Hello.
I'd want to swing for him.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm sorry, the Sprigginses have arrived, and I've got a very difficult meeting with them now, so I think we can say that we've finished here,
Well,
yes.
I'm sorry, I'm not happy with that.
She's really trying to get across to him her concerns, and he's just dismissing her.
Now I will write this up, and then we can get back to it later.
But you are aware that the issue is not yet finished?
Yes, I'm aware of that. That'll be fine. Yes, thank you. So shall we go now?
Clearly finished, and manhandling her out of the door.
We'll sort it out later, I'm sure. Can follow
Well, I hope that he's better prepared for the difficult interview with the parents than he was for the difficult interview with a member of his staff. Because I think as a parent walking into his office, he may have another problem.
Following on from the role play we were watching, it was quite apparent that in that situation, the reviewer wasn't listening to the reviewee. We know that one of the key responsibilities of the reviewer is to enable and allow the reviewee to speak and to actively listen to that reviewee. Now, I know that you guys are very good at that. You're practiced reviewers, and that's part and parcel of what you do every day. But what I'd like to do is to ask you to engage with me in an exercise that we could use with other staff when training reviewers. I'd like Janice to talk about something which is quite close to her heart. And Bob, I'd like you to actively engage in listening. I mean, some of the key elements of active listening include eliminating distraction, parroting to ensure that, reinforcing what's being said, open, warm body language, sometimes mirroring body language if it's appropriate.
Since taking up my role as deputy head at the school, I did feel that was becoming more and more of my life. Right. So what I've done now is I've taken up a new hobby because I thought I need to do something just to get me out of work environment. And so I have started ballroom dancing.
Right. Well, tell me about ballroom dancing.
It's quite interesting, isn't it, being a teacher and going into a situation where somebody else is telling you how to do something, and then being with your partner who has got 2 left feet, has no rhythm, and you've got to keep patient and be tolerant with him. We've been doing it for about 8 months now.
So 8 months of ballroom dancing.
Yeah.
Has that had a positive impact on your working life as well as your personal life?
It makes me giggle.
It makes
me giggle. It makes me giggle. So we're doing the cha-cha, rumba, jive and rock and roll.
How the hell do you expect me to react to that?
That was brilliant, though. That was really brilliant. Really good. Bob, your responses were spot on. Your body language was warm, they were very affirming. When Janice asked a rhetorical question, she didn't really want you to respond, but you did respond with a gentle nod and a yes, but just under your breath, but just enough to know that you were actually tracking what she was saying.
When there was a point when I thought, what am I going to say now? He was very clever and he came in and he said, so tell me about.
I think probably the most difficult part is maintaining eye contact.
Yeah.
Because naturally, if we feel we're in a difficult situation, we look away. We don't maintain eye contact.
It is a complicated skill and there are levels to it. One of the critical things that we haven't discussed, which I think is key to this in running a formal meeting over a limited amount of time, is to actually park distraction and to park your own agenda, but then to know when it's appropriate to actually try and close that down to move things forward.
It's the end of the day and the review process has been thoroughly analysed. In the next 2 programmes, performance management will be explored from the reviewee's perspective, and Janice and Bob will carry out reviews under the watchful eye of Denise. What will she have to say about their performances?